Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Ruscio and you're watching the Solving Quadratics using the Quadratic Formula Notes video. The learning goals are probably messed up on your paper too, but we're not going to be doing what we did last video. We're actually going to be solving quadratics using this amazing formula that works with any single quadratic equation that you may encounter. And that is called the quadratic formula, which you can see right here. Okay. Now, in class, we are going to be singing some songs. I will spare you the details in the video, but in this video, we are going to learn how to use it. Now, this first page of the notes have literally been done for you. So you can use this at any time to reference what we're about to do on the next page. But I am going to go through an example with you so we can kind of talk through it and we can show our work. Okay, so mainly we are going to figure out what A, B, and C are. We're going to substitute into the formula. We are going to do some simplifying based on what the directions tell us, because there's two ways that a problem can go, and we'll discuss this on the next page. Okay, so we are going to solve the quadratic function algebraically to find its zeros. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to write out the quadratic formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Okay, now some of you are going to be singing that song to help you to remember. This is also going to be found on your reference sheet, okay, that you will be given on every test. You're given it on every test. You just never really have any use for it, but now you do. Next thing we need to identify is what A, B, and C are. A quadratic takes the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So our A is equal to 1 right here. B is equal to negative 2, and C is equal to negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to create a skeleton template. I would encourage all of you to get into this habit. X equals negative parentheses plus or minus the square root. I told you I'd spare you the song. You're not going to escape. Of parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses parentheses, all divided by 2 parentheses. Okay, now we're going to put in the A, B's, and C's. So whenever we see an A, we're going to put a 1. Like here's an A, there's an A, there's a 1, there's a 1. Everywhere a 1, 1. There's a B, there's a B, there's a B, there's a B, there's a C, there's a C. Then we are going to simplify in 3 different chunks. Chunk 1, that's not an official math term, but you're going to see why I'm calling them chunks in just a second. Chunk 2, chunk 3. Okay, so x is going to equal some number plus or minus the square root of some number, all divided by some number. A negative negative 2 simplifies to be, I'm going to color this pink still, 2. 2 times 1, that's 2. Now we're going to mosey on over to our calculator's calculate page, and we're going to type in negative 2 squared minus 4. Do you see how I'm just typing it in exactly how I see it? Parentheses, parentheses. Check it out. It's the same thing as everything underneath the square root sign. Is there a square root sign here? No, there is not. Do not type it in your calculator. Is there a square root sign in here? No, there is not. Do not type it in your calculator. Oh, I just repeated myself. Okay, hit enter, and then we get 20. Okay, now, usually at the top of the problem up here, it's going to say one of two things. It's going to say round to the nearest tenth or write in simplest radical form. I get really happy when it says round your answer to the nearest tenth, because this means that we get to let our calculators do all the work for us. Okay, so what this means is that x is going to equal 2 plus the square root of 20, all divided by 2, or x is going to equal 2 minus the square root of 20. Plus minus doesn't mean plus minus, it means add or subtract. There's two different problems condensed in one because mathematicians can be lazy. So when we type this in our calculator, are you paying close attention? Bust out your calculator now. Control divide first. I'm going to use my fraction first. 2 plus the square root of 20, all divided by 2. And that's x is equal to 3 point, blah, 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 blah. We have to round to the nearest tenth. If we do that, we get x is equal to 3.2. Okay? Or, now I like to work smarter, not harder. I'm going to up arrow, hit enter. And then I'm going to change that plus sign to a minus sign and hit enter. And then I get x is equal to negative 1 point. Well, if I look at the 2 and the 3's next to it, it's still going to stay a 2. So those are my two zeros. Those are irrational numbers because they go on and on forever and don't repeat. Now, that's how our answers would look if we have to round. If the directions say write in simplest radical form, well, that means we're going to have to simplify this radical. So I'm going to take the square root of 20 and simplify him. Okay, what two numbers multiply to 20 where the first one is the biggest perfect square? If you said 4 and 5, you are a winner. So this becomes 2 square roots of 5. If you forgot how to do this, go back and rewatch the simplifying radicals video. I think it was 7.3. Okay, so this means, okay, this is fun. I'm going to keep my purple color. I like it. X is equal to 2 plus or minus, instead of the square root of 20, I'm going to write it as 2 square roots of 5, all divided by 2. But this 2 can divide into each one of these parts to make it simpler. So x is equal to 2 divided by 2, which is 1, plus or minus, I could say 1 square root of 5, or I could just say the square root of 5. Remember, this means that there's two answers. You don't have to write it like this, but I like to point it out because I think it's confusing for some people if I don't. So this means that x could either equal 1 plus the square root of 5 or 1 minus the square root of 5. So I like to list them out separately.